This week on Wednesday, September the 20th, we have two major central bank meetings, the Bank of Japan followed by the Federal Reserve. And I've received more than a fair share of emails of folks asking me, what do I think this means for markets? So I thought, why not look at the markets a little bit through the screens here and kind of go through where I think the risks are. And you might be surprised, while there might be risk for equities, there's actually opportunity setting up in other parts of the market. So let me show you what I mean.
So the first thing everyone's concerned about, and most of the questions I've received have focused on, what does this central bank bonanza on Wednesday, September 21st, Bank of Japan and the Fed, what does this mean for equities, particularly US equities? And let me quickly give you a little bit of perspective. First of all, in this chart here, what we have is in blue is the S&P 500 versus the VIX, so the CBOE Volatility Index, in red. And you can see we continue to have a quite wide divergence, and ultimately every 3 months or so we tend to see a little bit of a mean reversion move in these two. In other words, stocks go lower, volatility spikes. We've seen some of that. I don't think it's been enough. So whether the Fed and the Bank of Japan are going to release something here, sort of release the Kraken that ultimately gets this mean reversion to take place, I don't know. But for perspective, see that this gap still hasn't filled, and I think from a pure timing perspective and seasonality perspective, there's still a good chance of this taking place. At the same time, while stocks have corrected a little bit over just the past couple of weeks or so, to me, the much more interesting move has been in what we saw in, for example, in utility stocks. So the XLU ETF, you can see here into the summer months, started overshooting and then finally corrected back down. So we've got the utilities at a spot now. You can see basically we've seen a mean reversion move lower in utilities, which not surprisingly has also coincided with a move lower in bond prices. And not too dissimilar from this all is gold and silver. All of these things remain in intermediate to longer term uptrends, okay, particularly when it comes to bonds and utilities, and intermediate term uptrends when it comes to gold, silver, and gold miners. I tend to think the path of least resistance, based on whatever happens on Wednesday with these central banks, will ultimately be back higher for gold, silver, gold miners, bonds, and utilities. To be very clear, though, I think that's where there's a lot of opportunity. But to be very clear, we have not yet seen price react accordingly. In other words, if we were to look at something like gold, or let's look at the utilities real quick, we're seeing an attempted bullish reversal. In other words, an exhaustion of selling followed by follow through buying, but it's not strong enough yet. So you can see, for example, here last week we saw a bit of a bounce in utilities, but we're not yet, the week isn't over yet, so we're not yet seeing any meaningful follow through buying just yet. We'll have to see what it looks like at the end of the week, but we're starting to see things like utilities, things like gold miners, and of course bond prices start to come into a point where I think there's a better chance, particularly also considering where we are from a seasonal perspective and all this central banking situation. I think we could start to look for opportunities to start buying these dips, particularly once we see a bullish reversal back up. So for something like a GLD gold, I think we need to see the GLD close back above about 128. The XLU ETF, like I said before, we need to see a weekly close. That's strong enough. I'd like to see the XLU at least back above 50 to give us some sort of price confirmation that these intermediate term corrections are over. So that's what I'm looking at here. I hope this all makes sense, guys. Also very important, this Thursday, September the 22nd, I'm holding a special webinar on my options income secret strategies. This is for folks, traders and investors that want to start making monthly income using options in the markets. Everyone, traders and investors, desperately need steady monthly and quarterly income, and the strategy I'm going to show you guys on Thursday is going to help you achieve just that. So make sure you sign up for that webinar. It's this Thursday, September 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. New York time. It's also going to be recorded, and the sign up link for that is down in the description. I hope this was helpful, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.